Hi everyone, I will continue talking about the book Tess of the Other Bells, especially the chapter 20 from 23. Let me tell you that these chapters are part of the phase 3 of the book, where Tess refused to accept her feelings, and also this fourth chapter introduced more about the relationship that Tess had with Angel Claire. Um, since Tess arrived at Talbot Day's Dairy, everybody welcomed her very well, and she felt researched to be in a place where her past wasn't unknown. During the time was happening in the dairy, new plants and new animals appeared. The workers were very happy about the hard work that they did every day. Angel and Tess had been very close since Tess arrived at the dairy. Angel, who was secretly in love with Tess, um, thought that Tess was the ideal woman for him. Tess was very happy working on what she loved to do. During the working days, Tess and Angel were always the first to wake up and the first to start the working day. Due to their work, Angel and Tess always had meetings throughout the day. When they woke up early, they were the only people in the farm. And Angel always compared the dairy with Eden's garden, and the two of them with Adam and Eve. Angel was Adam, and Tess was Eve. Um, Angel always being close and a good boy with Tess. He begins to call her by different nicknames, which Tess didn't understand, and she always told him to call her Tess. Life in the dairy begins to change due to some events and some problems that were arising in the dairy, especially one morning with the butter machine. One morning the machine didn't work, and Mr. Creek and his wife, the owners of the farm, began to worry. And when they were in the kitchen, Miss Creek began to say that such things happen with someone of the farm falls in love. The milkmaids knew that Angel and Tess were in love, but Tess didn't want to accept that feeling, leaving the relationship that she had with Angel in a state of limbo. However, both enjoy their state of pleasant attraction without complicated commitments. Um, the next day, especially the next morning, the farm owner received a complaint for a client who said that the butter had a different and a strong flavor. They all began to review what could have gone, and they realized that the flavor was garlic. The milkmaids in the other decide to went out to the meadow in search to the garlic that the cows could eat. In a moment, uh, Tess felt tired, and Mr. Creek told her to take a breath. Tess decided to take a breath, and Angel approached her. When Angel approached her during her rest, Tess tried to highlight the virtues of each one of the milkmaids. So Angel could notice one of her. Tess thought that Dade could be the ideal wife for Angel. However, Angel told her that he hasn't interest in them. Um, Many time passed in the farm, especially 2 months later that Tess arrived at the dairy. She decided to go out to the town church for the first time together with her college. The girls decided to wear best clothes, but to their misfortune, a night before, a storm haunting the town, and one of the main streets for the church had been flooded. The milkmaid were thinking going home when Angel appeared and offered to drive them. Marianne, Redley, and Izzy, the milkmaids, didn't hesitate to accept his offer, but Tess didn't seem to agree with the idea. Her friends were very happy because Angel, their love, would help them. Uh, and they began to imagine many things. Angel helped them to pass the flood, and when it was Tess' turn, she wanted to avoid it, but she couldn't. Um, at that moment, the other milkmaids realized that Angel and Tess had taken too long time, and each one realized that Angel preferred Tess. One night, Tess discovered that the milkmaids, Marianne, Redley, and Izzy, were in love with Angel. So Tess decided to move away from Angel because she didn't feel worthy of Angel's love. Tess felt guilty because she also loved Angel, but uh, she didn't want to accept that love because she always thought in her past. And, and as you know, Tess had a bad past. And, and she decided never marry because she thought that maybe anyone could love her. For that reason, she didn't want to accept that she loved Angel. So at the end of these chapters, Tess wonders if she was wrong about her decision to move away from Angel.
Hello teacher and hello everybody. I will continue with the history of the book. And the name of the book, as we know, is The Test of the D'Urberville. So this history is very interesting and I hope you understand what I want to say. So I will talk about from chapter 24 to chapter 27. So this history, as I said before, is very interesting because today we can see that each history is represented with other histories that we know currently. So I will start well, this history starts with two people, and they are Angel, Claire, and Tess, obviously. And sometimes people called her Tessie. So one day they were together, and Tess was milking a cow. And while she was doing that, Angel was looking at her, but she didn't realize about it. But when she realized that Angel was looking at her, she felt nervous because of that. So in that moment, Angel realized that he was in love with Tess. So obviously Tess was in love with Angel, but they were completely different. Their culture, their religion, and their social environment were completely different because Tess was a poor girl. She was an innocent girl, and Angel and his family were completely different. His father was a man who believed in God, and well, they were Catholic people. And the family of the girl, Tess family, were different because they believed in God. Their religion, they had religion, but they were different because Angel family were more Catholic. And as I said before, Tess family were different. So one day, Angel thought that it would be wonderful if he told his parents about the girl, about Tess. But he was afraid because he didn't know that if his parents were going to accept her, because they know that that girl was different. So, but one day the Angel decided to go with his family, and he decided to tell them about the girl. So that day, when he was going to see his family, he was thinking that it would be great that if they would accept her, but it would be really difficult for him if they couldn't accept her. So it was complicated. It was a complicated situation for him because he loved Tess. So that day, when he arrived to his house, they were taking breakfast. So while they were taking breakfast, his two brothers were there, and the Mrs. Claire was there. All his family were there. And well, he was afraid. So, but at the moment, he couldn't talk about it. But then he said, "Well, I had to do it." And now, it was the moment. So when the moment came, he started talking with his father, Mr. Clare. And at the beginning, it was difficult because he didn't know how to tell him about it. So, but finally he decided, and he told him, and father, I want to tell you something. And well, he angel told him, well, I know a guard and I want to get married with her. So I will express in this way, but the book says this part in a different way, but it's the same. The meaning is the same. So in that moment, he told his father, and when his father heard those words, well, his father told him, well, you are a good boy, you are a good man, and I want a good girl for you. And I hope you can find a good girl. And angel told him, well, father, this is a good girl. He knows about the farmer. She is a farmer. She knows about the cows, about how to milk a cow. And I think that is the most important thing, because maybe she is completely different to our family, but I want to get married with her. So his father thought that it was very different, because angel family wanted that angel get married with another girl, and that girl was Mercy. So Mercy was different girl, and that's why angel parents wanted that girl for him, because Mercy was similar to angel family. Mercy was in the same religion, culture, social environment, and so on. And that's why they wanted her for him. Sorry. And as I said before, Angel was in love with Tess. So, well, his father told him, well, I will think about it and then we will talk. So Angel decided to leave that situation. And then the other day, when he was about to come back to Tess, with Tess, he realized that he wanted to be with her, with Tess, forever. So it was very complicated, because he didn't know that if Tess wanted to get married with him. But anyway, he told his parents, his family. So when he decided to come back with Tess, when Tess was working, and he arrived with her, and he saw her. So in that moment when he saw her, he told her, well, I'm here and I want to tell you something. And Tess was kind of nervous, but at the same time she was sad, because she knew that she couldn't be with Angel because of the different situation of the family. She knew that she couldn't be with him because of that, and she thought that she was a poor girl. Her family was a poor family, so they were completely different to Angel's family. So that's why she was sad and nervous, and she didn't know what to do in that moment. But Angel didn't know that. So in that moment, Angel decided to tell her, well, Tess, I'm here and I want to ask you something. And in that moment, Angel hugged her. And Angel decided to give her a hug. And when that happened, Tess didn't know what to do. So, but she gave him a hug. So in that moment, Angel asked her, do you want to get married with me? And Tess told him, I can't. I can't be with you. And I don't want. So Angel felt disappointed. And he asked her why. And Tess told him, because my family is different to your family and I can't be with you. So Angel was disappointed, was sad because of that, because they were in love but they couldn't be together. So this is the almost the end of the history of those chapters, but I hope this history starts in the next chapters with a different ending, because I guess in my case, I hope they finally get together. But well, I know how this history ends, but I don't want to tell you because my classmate will continue with the history. But finally, I can say that nowadays this history is similar to other situation of different families, because as we know, and as I said at the beginning, there are families that want that their children get married or with a different guy, but the guy has to be like their family. So this history is very interesting because Tess and Angel were two people who were in love, but they couldn't be together. And Tess knew that her family was completely different to Angel's family. So finally, in this book, the history says that Tess refused to be with him. So that is all I have to say in those chapters. And well, in the next part, my classmate will continue with the story. So that is all I have to say, and thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I will continue talking about Test of the Derivatives, and I will explain you from chapter 28 to chapter 31. Well, in chapter 28, Tess refused all the time and she decided to tell the truth. As we know in the story, the angel was always pretending Tess, but she refused every time because, as we know, she had a hidden past. And in the beginning of this chapter, they said that she wasn't good enough for a man like Angel because she considered him to be an honest person and a pure man. So her past made her think that she was a bad girl for a man who truly loved her. But this way of being made Angel think the opposite, that she was a really good girl because he considered her a pure woman and a really good girl. But Tess fighted within herself because she would feel guilty if she married him because she considered herself to be a bad girl. And then Mr. Creek and his wife uh, noticed that the Tess and Angel had a close relationship, so they decided to leave them alone more time. And one day, uh, Tess and Angel were alone, and Angel kissed Tess's hand, and Tess, as always, refused, and Angel was upset. So Tess decided to tell him the truth. But on Sunday, and then Saturday arrived, and Tess felt confused, and she felt uncomfortable, and also she thought of leaving him to a better woman because, as I said before, she considered herself to be a bad girl and not good enough from like Angel. Then we have chapter 29, where Tess called Angel Durst, and Angel and Tess went to the station. In this chapter, while Tess was having her breakfast, Dairyman Creek was telling some news about Jack Dollow, who was a man of his stories, and Tess felt uncomfortable but listening to that story. And then um, Angel approached Tess, and as always, she refused again. And he had planned to kiss her, but to his surprise, this made him feel rejected. And then but then one early morning, Angel asked Tess to speak seriously because it was like enough for him, and or he will go. So Tess asked for more time, and she called him Angel Dearest. And Angel immediately kissed Tess, but she ran quickly downstairs, and Tess said that any of her friends, like Marianne, Retty, or S, would be a better woman or a proper wife for him because he was a good man, a really good man for her. And then in the afternoon, Mr. Creek, Dairyman Creek, asked for help, and he said that he needed someone to take the milk to the station. So Tess and Angel went together. Then in chapter 30, Tess revealed something and she accepted Angel. In this chapter, they went to Asian Head, and while they were going to there, they didn't talk each other. But then Angel asked for an answer from Tess, and at that moment they drove near a big house, an old big house, and Angel told her that once he belonged to the Doberville family. Then they reached the railway station, but Tess looked totally out of the place among the machines, and then she began to tell her true story. And but Angel dismissed her worries or her troubled past. But Tess revealed that she was a D'Urberville, not a D'Urberville, because she heard that Angel hated all families. So that was an idea to show that it was the real story about her past. But Angel laughed at her, and so Tess had failed in her new action or her new decision. And then Angel said that she should take his name instead and escape from the D'Urberville family. So finally, Tess accepted him and they kissed, but Tess felt uncomfortable and she felt really bad taking that decision. Sometimes she dreamed to be dead because she felt like the worst woman in the world. And then Tess asked to write a letter to her mother in Marlot, and suddenly Angel remembered the place where they met. So in this chapter, Tess uh, 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 decided to get married with Angel, but at the same time, this was the worst and the best decision of her life. Then we have my last chapter, which is chapter 31, in which Tess wrote a letter and received another one, and many people noticed that this Tess and Angel were getting married. As I said, Tess wrote a letter to her mother and soon got a response by her family, in this case by Joan, her brother. And Joan congratulated her because she was getting married soon. And so she realized that keeping in silent would be the best decision to forget her past, to forget the horrible past that she had. And then the autumn came. Also, it was one of the happiest times of her life, and she tried to forget the past. Then that was also better because this was constantly surprised by the actions of Angel because he treated her like the best woman in his life because he thought that she was a pure woman and the best woman, um, and that made Tess love him more than usual because she thought that he was the best man in her life and that he was very spiritual with in his life. And then they were walking in when Tess thought what would be the opinions about her new life from her friends. So Angel told her that they would move to another place in England after the wedding. So it made her feel more comfortable and happy, but at the same time, she felt really bad with him because she hadn't told him the real truth about her story. Then Mr. Creek congratulated Angel on his decision, and then Angel wanted to set a wedding date, but Tess tried to get rid of it. And then Tess cried because she didn't feel comfortable by this decision, and she felt worse when the rest of the people of the farm noticed that they were getting married. So Tess felt confused and really bad because she was like cheating on him about her true story because as I said she hadn't told him the real story about her past. So this was a little bit about these 4 chapters, and then my classmate will continue explaining you about the rest of the chapters.
Hello, teacher. My name is Andrea Liliana Siciliano Mendez. Now I will talk about Test of the Tubervilles.
from chapter 32 to chapter 35. In chapter 32, Tess, which seemed to be compromise, in which everything should be remain as it was then, returning from other of these dark walks, they came to the large granite cliff immediately above the levels, and where they stopped and listened, refusing to marry him, obeying last night's emotion, and leaving the deity, mid going to some strange places, not to deity, to go to some farm where there was a divide, being like Angel Claire. She hated the idea of going home more. When they arrived at the deity, Mrs. Creek informed them with mandates of secrecy. Each lover wishes the marriage to be kept as private. The milkman thought he had a thought of fighting her son, was now very worried about losing her, while Mrs. Creek congratulated Tess on finally coming to an end with shyness. Tess seemed to so superior as she crossed the Barton that she was from Tess of Dubervilles, a good family she could have sworn. Mrs. Creek remembered that Tess was elegant and pretty, when but the superiority could have been a worth of the imagination, aided by knowledge. Her naturally brilliant intelligence had begun to admit the fatalistic conviction common to country people, but she wrote to her mother again, apparently to notify the day of the wedding, really to beg for her advice again. It was a gentleman who had chosen her, which perhaps her mother had not enough considered. He loved her so much in a more ideal and fanciful way, that with the patience of her feeling for him, the charms that in this creature will be found behind the scenes. The lack of sophistication was something to talk about. Tess of the Dubervilles wanted to see the operation of a flour mill to combine the use of one of the cultivation of corn. The owner of the old water mill in Wellbridge had offered her a traditional inspection. Claire paid a visit of the site to acquire about details, and returning to Talbot's in the evening. After the wedding, they stayed 15 days instead of traveling to towns and inns. Then they start to examine some farms to the other side of London that they have heard of. One Sunday morning, Wet came back from church and spoke privately with Tess. Mentioned the omission of the banns of Mrs. Creek, and Mrs. Creek assumed the privilege of the midwife to speak to Angel about the issue. She wondered if he would like her to marry her in her current best white dress, or if she would buy a new one. She returned upstairs and put on her robe. Alone, she paused a moment before the glass, looking at the effect of the silk outfit, and then the ballad of her mother's mystical robe came to her mind. Mrs. Duberville used to sing her when she was a child, so merry and wicked, with her foot on the crib, that she rocked to the tune. Chapter 33. Tess saw two men by her side. Then one of them looked her up and down, and surprised, Claire hit the man with the chin of the fold of her fist, and set and straining to the hill. The man bowed and Claire got into a defensive posture. As soon as Claire and Tess took the reins of the waiter, they left, and the man went to another direction. One night, Tess and Claire separate, and he went up to the attic. Tess sat down and followed the requirements. Then Tess heard a noise and believed that Claire was sick, but he dreamed that he was fighting with the men again. Then he found her at foot of the stairs. He felt that he could not do anything. He was affectionate as before. Tess has the confidence that he will forgive her. In the morning, the milkman whitewashes the fireplace. It was the center of the room. Tess's friend lived far away that no one could be present. Angel wrote to her family. Her brothers didn't respond. They didn't want a daughter-in-law milkmaid. Tess's lineage had more value for him than for anyone else. This made Tess feel guilty. Then they spoke, and her only wish was to call his sir. When they left the church, the screamers lowered the bells. Tess regretting many things. Chapter 34. They drove along the road, the valley, until they reached Wellbridge. Then they found a house that they hired. Its characteristics are known in the front valley. When they entered, they found a couple of rooms. The farmer left a woman to manage the house. It soon began to rain. He apologized, and she was overladen with emotion. She tried not to shed tears, but she couldn't help it. She said that her godmother had left her diamond bracelet and pendants. It was all vanity. Tess's sense of her striking appearance flushed her excitement. Then Jonathan Cale arrived. Jonathan and Claire talked about Retty, Peter, and Miriam, and what had happened. Miriam was dead. Then he told her about that time in his life, which has been alluded to when he had difficulties in London. Then he apologized. Tess squeezed his hand in search of an answer. Then she told him that she had to make a confession to him. She said she could be serious as his. Chapter 35. Claire walked slowly. Tess blew out the candles. Claire heard her steps. The roads were full of water. She followed Claire without addressing Claire, asked him forgiveness, and he told her not to argue about it. They were far from home. She had to cross the great stone bridge. Tess forgot about existence. That night, Claire also returned her steps to the house. Then he arrived and spread the rugs on the sofa. He rested without worries. Then he saw a portrait that he found unpleasant because of its sinister features. At the end, the night came and took her place. The night swallowed happiness, and now she was digesting indifference. He was willing to swallow someone else's happiness.
Well, my name is Andrea Reyes, and I am going to continue talking about the book. And I am going to start talking about Angel. Well, one day Angel wakes up and the room seems like the scene of a crime, and he makes breakfast and he calls for Tess, and the couple is as cold and without feelings, and it is ambiguous who has committed the crime, maybe Tess or Angel, and Tess looks purer and more innocent than ever, and Angel almost can't believe that her story is true, And Angel asks for the first time about Alec and the baby, and is distraught that Alec is still in England, and he states in his position, and that he had decided to not take a wife of high society, and but thought that he was getting rustic innocence in Tess. And Tess says he could still divorce her, but Angel calls her cruel. And she feels even more guilty and reveals that she considered suicide, but she didn't do it because it will be a scandal in the life of Angel life. And Angel is shaken and makes her promise to never think of killing herself again. And then Angel goes off to a study with a miller, and Tess watches him disappear over the bridge, and then cleans and waits to his return. And Angel finds her and says to stop working, that she is not his slave but his wife. And Tess says she thought she was not respectable enough for him. She starts to cry, and any other man but her. And he says it is not a matter of respectability, but of principle, and more days pass in the same manner. And one morning, Tess offers her face to kiss, but in this case, Angel ignores it, and Angel spends all his time trying to figure out that what to do next, and tells Tess he cannot live with her without despising both of them. He cannot accept that Alec is still lives as her husband in nature, and that nowhere on earth is far enough to a way to escape. The past test suggests that they part and she returned home, but she was upset. But when Angel quickly agrees, and he was still determined to submit his emotions to his ideals, and decides that he will leave too and write to her when he has changed his mind. And they pack with an air of finality, and both know that it is unlikely that their patient will return, and as other things will fill their lives with while they are apart. Mm, and one night, Angel sleepwalks into Tess, um, and Tess knew that in times of great stress, he does things like this, but she doesn't wake him up, because she trusts him so much that even when he's acting inconsistently, she feels safe, and she was not afraid, and as she will not care if she died in his arms, and in this way. And he kissed her lips and then carried her outside towards a river. And and again, Tess becomes a sort of sacrificial figure, or one willing to die for love or to spare her love pain. And Angel shows that he's not lost all his patience yet, because maybe he feels emotion for her, and they both strongly desire to return to the fantasy world of their courtship, and the desire leads to who- this strange nighttime and ritual. And Tess' mental state was emotionally dramatic, but she has enough experience to of harsh fate to care very little for her own life. And one night, Angel lays Tess inside and kisses her, and then he stretches out on the grass and keeps sleeping. And the night is cold enough to be dangerous for them to be outside, but she's ashamed, uh, and reveal what happened. And she tries to persuade him to walk on, and he always and Tess leads him across the stone bridge and into the house and back onto the sofa. And an angel's repressive society and means that makes his true feelings show themselves in this strange way. And Tess knows that he will be angry to find that he had betrayed his own ideals while he was asleep. And so she keeps painfully silent. She didn't say nothing about this problem. And the next morning, it is clear that Angel remembers nothing about this situation or the incident. His resolve to leave Tess remains after this sleep, so he does not hesitate, and Tess wants to tell Angel what happened, but knows it will be Angel. He will be angry because he showed a patient, and his reasoning didn't approve. And Betty and Marian have left the farm, and Tess bids farewell to her favorite cows, and they go. And Mr. Creek remarks that Tess and Angel seem dreamlike and strange, and the fertile imagery has disappeared with Tess' depression, because he thought about suicide, and the natural world is not comfort to her now, or else has become weak along with her own weakness. And they drive further and come to the spot where Tess must turn towards Marlot, and Angel said that he was not angry, but she cannot be together right now. And he said he will write to her, but to not come to him unless he tells her. And Tess feels these conditions are hard, but she accepts them and doesn't make a scene that might have persuaded him. And Angel gives Tess some money and takes her important things to save in the bank, and then they part, and Angel hopes she will look back, but Tess is so distraught that she cannot, and he remarks on the inherent wrongness of the world, and as he returns away, and he hardly knew that he loved her still, and because he's feelings the same things. And Tess returns again to her home valley and asks the turnpike keeper for news, and the only news he had is of Tess herself, and now proud of her parents were of her wedding. And Tess feels ashamed and decides to return home and secretly as she can. And she meets one old friend, but diverts her inquiries. And one day, John interrogates her about Angel, and Tess breaks down and admits that he left her because she told she told him her past, and John calls Tess a fool and says it was already a sin to marry him, and so she might as well have carried on silently. And John almost immediately comforts herself with what's done can't be undone, and but she worries her husband will be upset, and as he has been boasting of the wedding. And Tess gets a letter from Angel and saying he's in North England, and she pretends she's going to meet him, and she also gives some of his money to her mother to imply that she is living a well life now. And once she's gone, John reasures herself that what the couple will certainly reunite through their strong passion. And 3 weeks after the wedding, Angel returns home, and he is a changed man, and because he thinks he can see life practically now and free from romantic ideals. And he has been troubled in his thoughts lately, often dwelling on the fact that Tess is underwild, and as if that was the cause of the trouble, and he feels he should have abandoned her when he discovered her ancestry. And other times he feels he has been unfair to her, and Angela arrives without warning, and his mother is surprised says he's not with him, and he tells them about Brazil, but they question him about Tess. They are not angry and at Angel for his marriage, but wish they could have met his wife first. And Angel minimizes her absence by saying that he didn't want to bring Tess until she could properly impress the family, and that she will remain at her mother's while he is in Brazil. And Mr. Clare is still disappointed and asks Angel to describe Tess. And she imagines how beautiful and pure Tess must be, and how inexperienced with other men. And she has finally accepted Angel's original argument that a farmer should have a farmer wife, and Tess is thinking of how good Angel is, and neither of them perceive that